Fellow Toastmasters, good evening.
Good evening.
Have you ever found yourself at a loss of words when someone's asked you a question? That's why we have table topics. Now I'll tell you of a situation where I was precisely in that type of a predicament. You see, this was my last year of high school, and I wanted to go on this research project to Nicaragua with one of my professors. So I spoke with him, and he actually had an interview process that he was doing with students to find which student was good enough to go to Nicaragua with him on this research project. So I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Nicaragua, see what it was like, but first I had to pass this interview. So I present myself to his office, I say hello, and he asked me a couple questions. Things are going well. Until he asked me the last book that I had read. And I thought to myself, I'm in high school, I'm sure I read books a lot, but the only book I could remember reading was To Kill a Mockingbird, which I read just for my English class. It wasn't very impressive. And I left that interview thinking, oh goodness, that was awful. That was 6 months ago that I read that book, and it wasn't even a good book. And so of course, late that night I got an email saying, thank you for presenting yourself today for an interview. Unfortunately, you will not be joining us to Nicaragua. And I thought, man, I don't understand why it is that all these professors think reading is so important. What does that have to do with personal development? I had no idea and no concept. So, being in this embittered rage, I decided I would at least try it out and see if there was anything of truth in this having to have read a book to do things. So I started small. I started reading some fictional books, something like Dracula. And I worked my way up. I read some more persuasive and political books. And then I read some books that were more about finance and controlling your money. Get a Financial Life is a great book, Millionaires Next Door. And then I moved on to some more philosophical books. I moved on to a book called Atlas Shrugged, which is 2,200 words. Not words. If it were words, it would be quite an easy read. These were pages. 2,200 pages that I had read for this book. And throughout that experience, I had learned how wrong I was. I had learned the benefits of reading. Now, the benefits of reading are that it allows you to go through these words and create a scene. Really picture what the author's thinking based on just the words they've picked out. And words begin to take a much more meaningful purpose in your life. Many people are able to expand their vocabulary simply by reading books. They're able to learn words like extinction and words like philanthropy and things like that they can use. And words are something that no one can take away from you. And they're things that are useful in every situation. They are the pocket knife of living in the world today. Also, let's not forget, reading can be fun. It can be an important diversion. All of us need a diversion in life. And what better than sitting down on a nice day? Even rainy days are nice to sit down and just read through a book and enjoy some alone time. Now, my goal in this presentation, you can probably guess, is to inspire you all to read, to pick up a book. But how hard is it to convince someone to read? It is hard. I find it has to come from within. And that's why I recommend starting with something that meets your needs. Now, I don't know exactly what your needs are, but I would ask you to think, at least have a moment of reflection, to imagine what type of book is out there that could potentially help you in where you are and where you want to go. Maybe something mental, maybe it's something emotional, maybe it's something professional. But we all aren't perfect. We all have something to learn. And that's where reading can help us out. Now, you can find a book in many ways. You can find it online on Amazon. You can walk your way through a library. We had our competition at the Enoch Pratt Library, and they had some wonderful books there. A lot of people start simple with magazines. It doesn't matter how you start. The important thing is that you start, that you have that you have the ability to set aside some time for yourself. Because there's nothing more personally enriching than learning, enjoying time by yourself, and really building more creativity into your life. Now, through my experience in starting to read and that having a bigger part of my life, I was able to answer some of those questions, and I realized that I was fundamentally incorrect. The question about reading should not focus on what other people value in reading that I've done. It's in what reading can do for me. Now, I'll tell you a story. Just 5 months ago, I found myself walking into the apartment of a lovely girl named McKenna. You've all met her. And I looked at the shelf that she had there, and I saw a book called Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and that has 2,200 pages in it. Now you can imagine the spark of conversation that we had about reading this lengthy work by Ayn Rand, and the amount of things that we had to share and communicate on the different perspectives that we had on this book. And it was wonderful. And I'll tell you some exciting news. This last Saturday, I proposed.
Ooh.
And she said yes. Now, I don't want to mislead you into thinking that if you read a book, you'll meet a man or you meet a girl. That's not always how it goes. But I will promise you that if you read, it will be a personally enriching experience for you. It'll make you at least happier with yourself, and most definitely a pleasure to be around for others. Thank you.